Train stations have always been a place of routine for me. They're the start of a day, the end of another, places where life flows like clockwork. But this station is different. I can feel it the moment I step inside. It's an old station, a place people have almost forgotten, though it still stands, weathered and quiet, like it's waiting for something. Every night, when I take the last train home after work, I pass through this station. It's empty most of the time, just me, a few scattered commuters, and the steady hum of trains coming and going, echoes bouncing off the walls. But even though I'm alone, I can't shake the feeling that something's always watching me here, hiding in the corners. I never thought much about it until I started noticing a part of the station I'd never looked at closely before. There's this platform, Platform 13. It's hidden off to the side, almost like it doesn't want to be noticed. It's half covered in shadows, barely lit by a single flickering light, as if the place itself is trying to keep it dark. Platform 13 looks wrong. The walls are covered in a thin layer of grime, the floor cracked and uneven. Vines creep up along the edges like they've been growing there for years, untouched, spreading in silence. The air feels thick around it, still, as if time itself has stopped. There's no train schedule posted there, no signs of life. It's like the platform is waiting, empty, like a secret everyone has chosen to ignore. I thought maybe it was just another abandoned part of the station, something no one cared about anymore. But the more I passed by, the stranger it felt. And then, one evening, I overheard a couple of passengers talking, their voices low, their eyes glancing around like they were sharing something forbidden. They were whispering about Platform 13. One of them said they'd heard rumors, stories that people had vanished there. The other laughed, nervous, like they didn't believe it, but still didn't want to joke about it. They said that late at night, people hear strange sounds coming from the platform, footsteps, whispers, voices calling out in the dark. I thought it sounded ridiculous. A cursed platform? In a train station? But there was something in their voices, a strange sort of fear that made me uneasy. They talked about figures seen on Platform 13, shadows that seemed to watch you as you passed by. One of them even claimed to have seen someone disappear there, just gone in the blink of an eye. They fell silent when they noticed me listening, exchanging wary glances before walking away. I could feel the tension in the air as they left, like they'd just shared something they weren't supposed to talk about. I laughed it off at first. It was just a ghost story, right? Just superstition. But that seed of curiosity, of something hidden, had been planted. And no matter how much I tried, I couldn't shake it. I'd find myself lingering near Platform 13 each night, drawn to it in ways I couldn't explain. I told myself it was just curiosity, just a passing interest in something strange. But it felt deeper than that, like the platform was calling to me, urging me to come closer. It was late one night, maybe around midnight. The station was emptier than usual, quiet, almost too quiet. I'd finished my shift and was waiting for the last train, standing near the edge of the platform, absent-mindedly glancing toward Platform 13. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. Someone. There was a figure standing on Platform 13, barely visible in the dim light. They were dressed strangely, their clothes old-fashioned, like something out of another time. A long coat, a hat pulled low over their face. They stood still, facing the tracks, as if they were waiting for a train that would never come. I blinked, looked away, thinking it was a trick of the light. Maybe my eyes were just tired, my mind playing tricks on me. But when I looked back, they were still there, unmoving, watching the tracks in silence. I felt a chill run down my spine. I wanted to call out, ask if they needed help, but the words wouldn't come. My voice felt trapped, like something was holding it back, something that didn't want me to speak. I don't know how long I stood there, staring, my heart pounding in my chest. But then, just as suddenly as they'd appeared, they were gone. One moment they were there, and the next, nothing. The platform was empty, silent, as if they'd never been there at all. I stood there, frozen, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. I told myself it was just a shadow, just a trick of the light. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I'd seen them, as real as the tracks beneath my feet. And even though they were gone, I could still feel their presence, lingering in the air, watching, waiting. From that moment on, I couldn't pass by platform 13 without feeling that same chill, that same pull. It was like something had changed, like I'd seen a glimpse of something I wasn't supposed to, something hidden just beneath the surface. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't ignore it. Every night as I passed by the platform, I'd catch myself slowing down, lingering just a little longer, hoping, dreading that I'd see that figure again. That I'd feel that same cold, creeping fear settle over me. The same sense that I was standing on the edge of something dark, something I couldn't understand. And as the nights went on, that feeling only grew stronger. There's a strange feeling that comes when you're drawn to something you know you shouldn't be. It's a pull, a tug at the edge of your mind that makes no sense but is impossible to ignore. That's what Platform 13 became for me. A strange compulsion, a place that called to me even though I knew I should stay away. Each night as I walked past, I felt it. It was like an invisible hand, reaching out, pulling me closer. I'd hear things, faint whispers that seemed to come from the shadows, soft voices that sounded almost familiar but not quite. Sometimes I thought I heard my name, drifting through the air, calling me closer. Other times it was just a soft, gentle murmur, words I couldn't understand but that made my skin crawl. At first I tried to ignore it, to brush it off as my imagination. But the whispers grew louder, more urgent, like they were waiting for me, like they knew me. I'd feel them pressing against my ears, filling my mind until I couldn't focus on anything else. And at night, it was even worse. I'd close my eyes, and there it was, Platform 13, dark and foggy, haunting my dreams. In my dreams, I'd stand on the edge of the platform, staring into the fog. I could see shapes in the distance, shadowy figures waiting just beyond the light, their eyes fixed on me. I couldn't see their faces, but I could feel them watching, feel their silent gaze, cold and heavy, pressing down on me. They were waiting for me, calling me, urging me to step forward. Each night, I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. But instead of scaring me away, it only made me more curious. I found myself thinking about Platform 13 all the time, even when I wasn't there, like it had left a mark on me, something that wouldn't go away. I knew I should stay away, but something inside me wouldn't let me. One night, I decided to stay a little longer. I told myself I was just passing the time, waiting for my train, but deep down, I knew I was hoping to see something. I stood near the edge of the platform, my eyes drifting toward Platform 13, half hidden in shadows. The whispers were there again, soft and faint like a song I couldn't quite hear. And then, out of nowhere, I wasn't alone. A group of people appeared, standing near Platform 13. I didn't see them arrive, didn't hear any footsteps, no sound at all. They were just there, like they'd stepped out of thin air. There were maybe 4 or 5 of them, all facing the platform, their backs to me. Their clothes looked strange, old-fashioned, like they'd come from another time. I took a step closer, and as I did, one of them turned around. Their face was pale, almost ghostly, and their eyes were blank, empty, staring right through me. They looked at me with a sadness I couldn't understand, a sorrow that seemed to fill the air around them. "You shouldn't be here," one of them said, their voice soft, almost a whisper. "Platform 13, it's not for the living." I wanted to ask them what they meant, wanted to understand, but my throat felt tight, my voice frozen. I could only stare, my heart pounding, as they took a step closer, their faces solemn, their eyes empty. "Once you step onto Platform 13, another voice said, you can never leave." Their words hung in the air, heavy, filled with a sense of finality. I wanted to turn and run, to get away, but my feet wouldn't move. I felt rooted to the spot, trapped under their gaze. And then, just as suddenly as they'd appeared, they were gone. One moment they were there, the next, just empty air. I was alone, standing in the silence, their words echoing in my mind. I should have been terrified, should have left, but instead I felt something else. A strange sense of loss, of longing, like a part of me wanted to follow them, to understand what they meant. Their words lingered in my mind, haunting me. "Once you step onto Platform 13, you can never leave." It was a warning, a message, but it only made me more curious. I knew I shouldn't go back, shouldn't even think about it, but I couldn't stop myself. I was drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. After that night, strange things started happening. It was as if the station itself had changed, as if it was alive, aware of my presence. I'd walk through the station and the lights would flicker, going dim whenever I passed near platform 13. It felt like the darkness was reaching out, wrapping itself around me, pulling me closer. One evening, as I walked past the schedule board, I noticed something odd. The screen glitched, the numbers and times flickering, shifting. For a moment, every train listed on the schedule was set to arrive at platform 13, just for a second. Then it was gone, back to normal. But it left me standing there, heart racing, feeling like the station was playing tricks on me, like it was testing me. And then there were the shadows. I'd catch glimpses of them out of the corner of my eye, faint figures that would vanish the moment I looked directly. They were always there, just on the edge of my vision, watching, waiting. I'd see them in reflections, in the glass of the station windows, in the darkened screens of the ticket machines. I'd look up, and there'd be nothing, just empty space. But I could feel them, feel their presence lingering just beyond my sight. One night, as I was reaching into my pocket, I felt something strange, something that didn't belong. I pulled it out and found an old-fashioned train ticket. The paper yellowed, worn, like it had been sitting there for years. There was no origin, no destination, just the platform number, 13. I stared at it, my hands shaking, my mind racing. I hadn't put it there. I had no idea how it got there. But there it was, real and solid, a silent invitation, a message from something. I knew what it meant. Platform 13 was calling to me, drawing me closer, pulling me in. And despite the fear, despite everything I'd seen, I couldn't resist. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I needed to understand what was happening. Needed to know what Platform 13 really was. So I started asking questions, looking for answers, trying to piece together the mystery. I went to the library, searched through old records, anything I could find about the station, about Platform 13. At first, there was nothing. No mention of Platform 13 anywhere. It was like it didn't exist, like it was a ghost, a place that had slipped through the cracks of reality. But then I found something, a small newspaper clipping, hidden away, almost like someone had tried to forget it. The article was old, from decades ago, and it talked about a train that had vanished, right from Platform 13. The train was scheduled to leave late one night, but it never arrived at its destination. The station claimed there was no record of the train, no ticket stubs, no passengers, but a few witnesses swore they saw it, saw the passengers board, saw it disappear into the night, swallowed by the darkness. They called it the Lost Train, a ghost story, something people whispered about but never really believed. But I knew, as I read those words, that it was real. The platform, the shadows, the whispers, it was all connected, all tied to that train, to the passengers who had vanished without a trace. And then, as I kept searching, I found more stories, scattered accounts from people who'd seen their loved ones on Platform 13. They described seeing figures from their past, people who'd disappeared, standing on the platform, waiting, as if caught between worlds. They'd reach out, try to speak, but the figures would vanish, slipping back into the shadows, lost forever. I felt a chill run through me as I read, a sense of dread that settled deep in my bones. Platform 13 wasn't just a place. It was something else, something beyond this world, a place where the lost gathered, where the dead waited, trapped in the silence. I knew I should stop, should let it go, but I couldn't. Platform 13 had a hold on me, a grip I couldn't break. I felt it calling to me, drawing me closer, and I knew, deep down, that I couldn't resist. There's a point where fear becomes something else, something darker, something that sinks into your bones and stays with you, no matter how much you try to shake it. I had reached that point. Platform 13 had taken over my thoughts, my dreams, my life. It was a place I knew I should avoid, but somehow I couldn't stay away. It called to me, whispered to me, wrapped around me like a shadow I couldn't escape. Every time I passed by, I felt it, a pull, a silent invitation. I could feel the platform watching, waiting for me, urging me to take that one final step forward. And that night, I knew I couldn't resist anymore. I couldn't ignore it, couldn't pretend it wasn't there. I had to know the truth. I had to see what was waiting for me on Platform 13. It was late, past midnight, the station empty and silent. The air was thick, heavy, filled with a strange, cold stillness. I made my way through the station, my footsteps echoing, each step feeling heavier than the last. I could feel my heart pounding, could feel the fear building in my chest, but I couldn't stop. I was being pulled forward, guided by something unseen, something that had been waiting for this moment. As I reached platform 13, the shadows seemed to close in around me, wrapping the platform in darkness. The lights flickered, dimmed, until the only light left was a faint glow, barely enough to see by. The air was cold, colder than it should have been, biting into my skin, filling me with a chill that felt unnatural. I stood there, staring into the shadows, feeling the weight of the silence pressing down on me. And then, I took a step forward, crossing the line, stepping onto platform 13. The moment my foot touched the ground, the world changed. The station faded away, the familiar sounds disappearing, replaced by a strange, eerie quiet. The air grew thick, heavy, filled with a sense of dread, a sense that I had crossed into a place I wasn't meant to be. As I stood there, the fog began to rise, thick and dense, swirling around me, hiding everything beyond a few feet. I could feel the cold creeping in, seeping into my bones, freezing me in place. And then, through the fog, I saw them, figures, shadowy shapes, standing in the distance, their faces hidden, their bodies barely more than outlines. They were everywhere, scattered along the platform, silent, unmoving, watching. I could feel their eyes on me, could feel their silent gaze pressing down on me, filling me with a sense of dread I couldn't shake. I wanted to turn and run, to escape, but my feet felt rooted to the ground, held in place by something I couldn't see. One of the figures stepped forward, moving slowly, their face hidden in the shadows. I felt a chill run through me as they stopped just a few feet away, their gaze locked on mine, their eyes empty, hollow, filled with a darkness I couldn't understand. "Why are you here?" they asked, their voice soft, filled with a sadness that cut through me like a knife. "This is no place for the living." I tried to speak, to answer, but the words wouldn't come. I could only stare, my heart pounding, my breath shallow, as they looked at me with eyes that seemed to see straight through me, as if they knew everything, every secret, every fear. "We are the lost," they said, their voice barely more than a whisper. "We are the ones who crossed the line, who stepped onto this platform, who can never leave." The words hit me, sinking into my mind, filling me with a sense of dread that I couldn't escape. I understood now. Platform 13 wasn't just a place, it was a trap, a prison, a place where the lost gathered, where the dead waited, forever caught in the silence. As I looked around, I could see them more clearly now, the figures standing in the fog, their faces filled with sorrow, their eyes empty, hollow. They were trapped here, bound to the platform, waiting for a train that would never come. I knew deep down that I'd made a mistake. I'd stepped onto platform 13, crossed the line, and now I was one of them. I could feel it, a cold, creeping sensation that spread through my body, filling me with a sense of loss, a sense of emptiness. I was a part of this place now, bound to it, trapped in the silence. I wanted to scream, to run, to escape, but I couldn't move. I could only stand there, surrounded by the shadows, by the lost souls who had come before me, who had made the same mistake, who would wait here forever. As I looked into the fog, I saw my own reflection in the distance, a shadowy figure staring back at me, hollow, empty, just like the others. It was me, but it wasn't. It was a version of me that I didn't recognize, a part of me that was lost, trapped, bound to platform 13. And as the fog closed in around me, I knew that I was never leaving. I was a part of this place now, just another shadow, another figure lost in the mist, waiting, watching, forever caught in the silence.